Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sad Sangat Ji, we've heard of the continuous oppression by the blood-stained hands of Zakaria Khan as he continued to try and finish Sikhi. Such was his dedication to this cause that he went blind in his anger. He just couldn't accept, he couldn't understand that Sikhi would never end, that many had tried and failed in the past. And today's Sakhi is one that highlights this even more, that no matter what happens, no one can finish Sikhi. This Sakhi is not one that is commonly heard. Our Itihas is vast and there's just so many Sakhiyan that are not shared these days. And a lot of our Itihas has actually been lost or not written down. We need to remember about these times. They wouldn't know where they would get their next meal, never mind worrying about writing down the events of the day. So a lot of our history was shared in the form of storytelling, Sakhiya, passing Sakhiya down generation to generation. Eventually, these Sakhiya were then written in our historic granths. Zakaria Khan continued to publicly offer heavy awards for information, location of Singhs and Jathas of Gursikhs. Many spies were sent out to investigate sightings of Singhs, and the time came when a Mughal spy spotted a small group of Singhs who had left Punjab. And these Singhs had set up camp in the dense vegetation on the river bank near the Pind Mehtab Kokot. And acting on the information received by the spy, a large, heavily armed force led by the Mughal officer, a Faujdar, quickly surrounded the Jatha of Singhs. The Faujdar's face lit up, seeing with his own eyes that there was only a handful of Singhs. He started to say, "Why did I bring such a large force with so many provisions, rations and weapons? There's only a small group of them. We'll be done and dusted in no time. They look like they haven't even slept in days. They're lying there with no idea that I'm only a few moments away from killing them all." The Faujdar says this while watching from a distance. He ordered his soldiers to get ready to attack. Surround their campsite, make sure they can't escape and kill every single one of them. The Singhs were hungry and tired. They had gone days without proper food. Not just that, they were dispersed. Some of the Singhs were away in the jungles to get wood. Others were in the river to bathe. Some were doing their nitnem, some were lying down resting or mending their wounds. No one had any idea that the Mughal forces had already surrounded their campsite and were about to attack. Then, in the silence, there were sounds of heavy movement. Mughals shouting their war cries as they attacked from all four directions without any warning, firing their loaded guns, and the Singhs were not expecting this at all. It was like death had just come from nowhere. Our Itihas states, "Jankar akasho bijli pare, topi singan te palasare." Just like thunder and lightning striking in the sky, it comes out of nowhere in an instant with great force, and in the same way the Mughals attacked. Many of the Singhs were shaheed at once, but many more, without any fear of death, got tiyar bar tiyar and started to fight back straight away. Wherever a Singh would stand his ground, he would courageously hold countless of the enemies in their place. The Singhs would fight back to back, protecting each other from enemy Vars. And how great were Gursikhs in their Shastra Vidya. One Singh with a dang, a long deadly stick, would hold back tens of Mughal enemies who would be attacking with their talwars. How could one Singh hold back so many Mughals? It's about the mindset. On one hand, you had the Mughals, paid soldiers who were fearful for their life. Why should they die in this battle? They would get paid the same for staying safely in the background. They were fearful for their life. They did not fight out of dedication. They fought because they were ordered to. On the other hand, you had Sevadars of the Guru Khalsa Panth. These Singhs had no desire for money. They had no one ordering them to fight. These Gursikhs were fighting for the Sikhi, for their Guru. They had a desire to be shaheed, fighting alongside their brothers, to be shaheed for their Guru. And cause of this, the Singhs would fight with so much more power and bravery that the Mughal regime soldiers had no chance. By now, the Singhs that were out and about when the Mughals attacked, they were at the riverbank having a shanaan or in the woods getting materials. Those Singhs heard the jekare of the Singhs fighting and the sounds of guns being fired and rushed back to the campsite. They pounced upon the Mughals from outside the siege, like lions attacking a flock of sheep. They would rush with their swords and help the Singhs in the thick of battle. They would put their own life in danger to save their brothers. The Singhs would be reciting Gurbani, shouting jekare whilst fighting like surme. These Singhs had one rule that they played by, one message that was ingrained in each and every one of the Singhs. Piche fire jo giddi kahave, agge mare patshahi pave. That message was that if one turns his back during jang, during battle, that one who flees the battlefield would be branded as a coward. And those who fight and die fighting, those who are shaheed in battle, shaheed by taking wounds to the front of their body, those warriors would be honoured in Vaheguru's court. Their future generations would be rewarded with Raj. This was the mindset of the Purathan Singhs. Eventually, the day turned into night as darkness descended upon the battlefield. This was bad news for the Mughal soldiers who couldn't fight under these conditions. So eventually the battle calmed down for the night as the Mughals retreated. As they retreated, they noticed the countless Mughal soldiers that had been killed. They all thought to themselves, our Faujdar said that this would be a quick win. Instead, we are getting slaughtered, and what for? Their morale was at an all-time low. The Singhs, however, who were used to guerrilla warfare and knew the jungles like the back of their hand, the cover of darkness was an opportunity to finish this battle once and for all. Aye dekhiyo ek Singh ne ikalle fauj sodar, lay khach Shamsher Singh mundi de utar. At this point, one brave Singh, due to the cover of darkness, moving quietly through the enemies, spotted the Faujdar in the distance. Surprisingly, this Faujdar officer in charge, the leader of the forces, was standing there on his own. The same Faujdar who was saying, look, there's only a few Singhs. Why did I bring so many forces? He was now standing there not knowing that Kal, death, was just seconds away in the form of this one Singh. Seeing that he was not guarded by any of his security guards, this Gursikh warrior, taking this opportunity, pulled out his Shamsher, his sword from its mayan, and with such force, one var, he cut the Faujdar's head straight off his neck. The Faujdar was beheaded with a single mighty stroke of the sword. So such was the blessings of Vaheguruji that the hunter, the one who had came to slaughter, to kill, he himself was hunted. Such is the power of the Guru Khalsa. No obstacle or enemy can defeat the one who has Vaheguruji on their side. This was the last straw for the Mughals. Seeing this, seeing the decapitated head of their Faujdar lying on the ground, all the Mughal forces started to panic. Their Faujdar, their leader, the one who was keeping them here on his orders, had now been slaughtered. There is no one left forcing them to stay in this battle. All the Mughal forces deserted the battlefield during the night. Just like if the roots of a tree are destroyed, then what chance is there of the rest of the trees surviving? In the same way, all the Mughal forces started to run away hearing about the death of their commander. Seeing this, all the Singhs sounded jekare of victory. The Mughals would run away hearing these jekare, fearing for their lives. They would leave their horses, their weapons and rations behind. Those who were starving for days actually ended up with their hands and pockets full and content. The Singhs would say in Chardikala, look, we've not had to do anything. Guru Sahib has delivered all the food straight to us. And when news spread about this jang, even more Singhs travelled and joined the Jatha. Sangaji, the Mughals wanted to finish this small group of Singhs. Instead, what's happened is even more Singhs have arrived, and now it's like an army growing strength for strength. Kaviji finishes this prasang by saying, Hoto khalso summe vani, pai khalse akha kahani, ek mara to das aur aave, Rahe dukhi to sukhi batave. The Khalsa Panth is as eternal and limitless as the river that forever flows. That is the legend of the Khalsa. It is inexhaustible. For each Singh who is Shaheed fighting bravely in jung, for each Shaheed, 10 others arrive to replace him. This is a message for Zakaria Khan. He's done so much, but he's not realized that the more he kills, the more he waters the plant of Sikhi. So in this way, the Singhs would grow in strength for many months. Even though they lived in the worst conditions, they remained in Chardi Kala. May we forever remember and do ardas to be blessed with such a Gursikhi Jeevan as our ancestors. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.